Just 6 days to go until La Liga kicks off, and we are continuing our countdown, bringing you up to date with every team that you'll be able to see on ESPN Plus. And today it's Sevilla who opened their campaign against Rayo Vallecano, and there is so much to talk about with a club like this. They finished fourth last season, and that's pretty much what helps them with their income for the club, is achieving regular Champions League qualification. But it's not the Champions League that you usually associate this club with. It is the Europa League. Rob Palmer joining me now, long-time commentator for La Liga, and so much to talk about with this team, Sevilla. One of the most passionate fan bases, Rob, in the whole of the league.
Absolutely. It's a wonderful club, wonderful city. Fourth place last year, fourth largest city in Spain. And it's a little bit different, you know, when you go there. When I first started covering La Liga, we had a week in Barcelona and Madrid, and you see Spain, and Madrid's a wonderful capital, and Barcelona is everything. And then you go down to the city of Seville and you see the orange trees, the architecture, the river, the old town, the new town, the tapas bars, and it is pure Spain. This time of year, it's so hot, you really can't settle there. But it's a beautiful all year round city, and it's a wonderful football club as well. And of course, it's one of those rare cities that's got two teams in, with Real Betis across town, and the two distinctively different clubs.
It really matters to them as well. And as you say, it's so hot. I actually was told by my Spanish friends before I went there, be careful, because if you've got cheap shoes on, they might actually melt on the pavements. It's that hot. But so rich in culture, as you were mentioning, just a wonderful city. If you do have one weekend to go and see a game in Spain, I always say pick either Sevilla or Betis, so that you do get the chance to go to Seville and to see everything there. As you said, flamenco, just everything that comes with it. But let's get to the team, shall we? Julen Lopetegui seems to have found a much better home for himself here, doesn't he?
He has. He did such a good job with the Spanish under-21s, and of course then he had that absolute nightmare with the national team. He was doing so well with the national team. Then he went to Real Madrid. And he's found himself a home. It's more than the manager there. I'm sure we're going to talk about Monchi, the director of football. But what happens at the club is they choose a good coach. They put the coach in place, and then they provide him with the ingredients to make the omelette or the souffle or whatever. And Lopetegui has done well. He's got a great mix of players there. And every year they accept it in Seville that they have to change the team. They bring players in, little diamonds, uncut diamonds. They give them a good shine, get 2 or 3 seasons out of them, and then they move them on for a profit, and then they find the next lot as well. And they're always up there. This year they're going to be contesting in the Champions League as well.
Yeah, and you do wonder if the Champions League is the right fit for them, with everything that we've seen historically with Europa League and just how much they've made that competition theirs. But you mentioned Monchi, a sporting director, and yes, clubs do have sporting directors, but he feels so intrinsically linked with this club. And as you mentioned, finding what you could say were relatively unknown players that he finds, being able to bring them to the club where they have their platform. We've seen superstars come out of there, perhaps none more so than his proudest achievement, Dani Alves.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that was the backup goalkeeper, never really made it as a player, went into the technical department, and, you know, we've all seen the film Moneyball. Well, he kind of brought that to Spain, and he's had Dani Alves playing today in the Olympics. He's had so many players. Rakitic came in. Sergio Ramos, I think, was under his tenure as well. There's probably a superstar every 4 or 5 years that he brings through. Reyes, another one. I could sit here all night. We could reel them off. Colombia, they're about to sell. Roma thought they could take him away. He went over to Serie A for a little while, and he has lasted 2 years over there, and he's back home now. But he has this wonderful method. He's got 700 scouts around the world, keeping an eye on all of the leagues in South America. He's got people everywhere, literally everywhere. They bring the players in, they take a risk on them, and he makes a profit. I think they've made about 200 million profit on the players that he's brought in the last decade. And there are very few clubs in the world where the biggest star at the club is the sporting director. Probably he's unique. It's probably the only club where they've got the big star, the most famous man at the club is the sporting director.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see. And you mentioned, obviously, we talked about the passion. They've got this amazing anthem as well. If you get a chance to go and hear their Centenario anthem, you hear the fans all singing it in the stands before kick-off, and you'll get goosebumps if you're there in the stadium, and I'm sure everybody would agree with that. But how are you thinking for them this season, Rob? It's always a brilliant team to see, especially up against the big teams. Well, it's one of the big teams, but the bigger teams ahead of them, particularly in the table last year in Atleti, Barca and Real Madrid. You usually know that Sevilla will give them a bit of a game, and that's because they usually do have strong and good players in their ranks.
Yeah, it's always a little bit of a stretch for them, isn't it? There is a league for the fourth biggest kind of club in any country, and they always prove to be, as you said before, these are 7 times they've won, half a dozen times they've won the UEFA Cup or the Europa League, as it is these days. And you put them in a group of teams of that kind of stature, and they're as good as anybody in Europe. This year they've got to play in the Champions League, so they've got to probably going to get a bit of a bruising against some of the teams, some of the major European teams. But do you know what? In La Liga, there's a very big chance for them because we all know what's going on at Barcelona. They're in disarray. Real Madrid going to need to go through a bit of a rebuild. Atletico Madrid, for me, I think I've said it on this programme before, are probably the favourites next season. And Sevilla have a settled team. They've got a very good coach and they've got a lot of good players, and they've been refreshing again in the summer, and they're not losing too many superstars. And I think they brought in Eric Lamela this week from Tottenham Hotspur, another player with a point to prove, another one of those. And they specialise in these players that maybe we know are good players, we know have got a reputation, have been at a club, failed a little bit, and then they bring them back in and then they take them back to the level that they've been at before.
Thanks so much to Rob Palmer for his insight there on Sevilla. Luis Garcia will be back with us tomorrow as we continue the countdown to kick-off in La Liga.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.